Okay, so, you sent over some stuff about NH농협 Bank, and it's pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really concerning, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to deep dive into that today.
Yeah, let's get into it.
We're going to look at the problems and, like, what's at the heart of all of this.
Absolutely.
And, like, why should people even care?
Yeah.
So we're zeroing in on their internal controls or the apparent lack thereof.
Right.
Especially given the financial losses that they've had from fraud and embezzlement.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Over the last couple of years, especially like 2023 and then going into 2024, it seems like a lot.
Totally, yeah.
So we're mainly using this article that you flagged.
Right.
Which is just painting a really unsettling picture of what's going on there.
Yeah, it is. It's the kind of thing that makes you really wonder about how solid risk management is at these institutions.
Yeah.
When you see just the financial accidents at NH농협 Bank, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. So let's get into that. The article goes into detail about 2023, and in that year alone, they had 45.376 billion KRW.
Billion.
In financial accidents.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's not chump change.
It's not.
Yeah.
And what's maybe even more telling is how often it's happening.
Right.
Data from the FSS, the Financial Supervisory Service, shows more than 16 financial accidents already this year.
Oh, wow.
Almost double the number in all of last year.
Jeez.
And they're one of the highest in the domestic banks.
Yeah, so it suggests it's not just like a one-off thing.
Right.
This could be like a systemic issue.
Yeah, 16, just in the first part of the year.
Wow.
It's a huge problem that seems to be getting worse.
Definitely.
These are not just numbers, right?
No.
The article gives an example of a 10.9 billion KRW fraudulent loan.
Wow.
That used a fake sales contract that was just last February.
Gee.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then you add in the FSS audit.
Right.
It gets really complicated. There was this collusion between branch managers and brokers, making these fake loans and then getting kickbacks.
Jeez.
So it's not just process.
Yeah.
It's also ethical conduct.
Right.
And oversight mechanisms.
That's a problem.
Yeah. So like with all these red flags, you would think someone who would be on top of this.
Totally.
So that leads us to the Internal Control Committee.
Okay.
Can you kind of explain what their mandate is and what the article says about their actions or inactions?
Yeah. So the Internal Control Committee is part of the board, and they have a very specific job.
Okay.
They're the ones that are looking at the ethical governance and risk management.
So very important.
Super important. They're like a key part of the audit function.
Yeah.
Making sure the bank is running with integrity.
Right.
And managing risks to the bank's reputation and stability.
Okay.
So they should be keeping a close eye on this stuff and reacting to the financial risks.
That makes sense. So they're the ones that should be keeping things running smoothly.
Exactly.
But the article makes them seem very passive.
That's putting it lightly.
Right.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
There are these huge financial accidents, and the Internal Control Committee doesn't seem to care.
Really?
The article says that these problems weren't even on the agenda for their meetings. They were getting recommendations from the FSS, but they did nothing.
Wow.
It's like they weren't paying attention.
So billions of one are disappearing because of fraud, and the committee that's supposed to control things doesn't even talk about it.
It's wild, right?
It's wild.
Yeah.
So why do you think that happens?
Well, it's not always just one thing.
Okay.
Maybe they don't have the right people on the committee.
Okay.
People who really understand the risks. Sometimes the management team can influence things.
In what way?
Like maybe they discourage the committee from digging too deep.
Okay.
Maybe there's pressure or they don't want to rock the boat. Sometimes it's just complacency.
Oh, right.
They're just checking boxes, not really being vigilant.
Right.
And sometimes the bank is so big and complicated, it's hard for them to see what's really going on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just that these losses weren't talked about.
Right.
The article says there was no talk about what to do after an incident. No deep analysis to find the root causes.
Right.
And no reports to the board about who was responsible.
It's like a complete failure of accountability.
It is.
Yeah.
And then the board itself didn't do anything either.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Didn't push for better controls.
Yeah.
Didn't even suggest disciplinary action.
It's like the lines of accountability are blurry.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just don't want to face the problems head on.
So basically this committee was just there for show.
Yeah, basically.
To check a box.
Right.
It's like a fake governance structure.
Exactly.
Creating this illusion of oversight.
That's exactly what the article calls it.
Yeah. It's a pretty harsh criticism.
It is.
Yeah.
It points to a deeper problem than just a few bad people.
Yeah.
It's like the whole system is messed up.
Right.
The structures are there, but they're not working.
Like the gears are just grinding.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not catching anything.
No, they're not.
So that brings us to the bank's ability to recover these funds.
Yeah.
And the numbers are pretty shocking.
Oh, yeah.
Kim J. says they've only been able to recover 1.7%.
1.7.
Of the 52.68 billion KRW lost
Between
2020 and 2024.
It's terrible.
1.7%. That's so little.
Yeah.
It's almost unbelievable.
I know.
What does that even say about their ability to clean up this mess?
Not much.
And the article says this is the lowest recovery rate of any major commercial bank.
Yeah, and Kim's criticism that this shows a wider failure of internal controls
Makes sense.
is spot on if they can't get the money back. That means the same vulnerabilities that allowed this to happen in the first place
Are still there.
They're still there. Yeah. They're not fixing the problem.
So it's not just about the initial loss.
No.
It's also about the fact that they can't even recover the money.
Right.
Which means it could happen again.
Exactly.
So this isn't just one committee's problem.
Right.
This is a broader governance issue.
Yeah, it seems like it.
The article goes on to look at the other subcommittees, like the Audit Committee, the Risk Management Committee, and the Board Operations Committee. Right. None of them seem to be addressing this.
Yeah, they're still failing.
In 2023 and 2024.
That's a problem.
It is.
Yeah.
What were they doing instead?
So the Audit Committee, they were focused on things like employee integrity assessments and evaluating external auditors. Important stuff.
Yeah.
But they weren't actually stopping the fraud.
So they're looking at the checklist while the house is burning down.
Exactly. The Risk Management Committee, they were busy with things like social media reputation and AI credit scoring.
That's important, but
it is.
It's not the main thing right now.
No, it's not dealing with the actual crisis.
Yeah.
And then the Board Operations Committee, they were worried about things like the independence of outside directors. Not about holding anyone accountable for these failures.
So it's like everyone was doing their own little thing.
Right.
But no one was looking at the big picture.
Exactly.
It's a governance system that exists in name only.
That's what the article says.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad sign.
It is.
It's their job to prevent these things.
Right.
Not just to have procedures.
Yeah, the procedures should be stopping the fraud, not just existing.
Exactly.
If they're not preventing losses,
yeah,
it means they're not doing their jobs.
They're not effective.
Right.
And this brings us to something interesting.
Okay.
NH농협은행 Bank talks a lot about ESG, environmental, social, and governance.
Oh, right.
They say they're all about transparency.
In their sustainability reports, they talk a big game.
They do.
Okay, so what's the catch?
They say they're strengthening ethics, enhancing compliance.
Right.
But then you see all these accidents.
Right.
And there's no mention of it in the board reports.
So they're saying one thing and doing another.
Exactly.
That's not good.
It's a total disconnect between what they're saying and what they're doing.
It looks like they care more about looking good than actually doing the right thing.
The article quotes someone calling it performative governance.
Oh, wow.
It's like they're just going through the motions without any real results.
Yeah. And the ESG expert in the article says that's not enough.
It's not.
You have to actually do something.
Yeah.
Not just have meetings and write reports.
Right.
You have to actually hold people accountable.
So what has the reaction been from outside the bank?
Well, the National Assembly and financial regulators are paying attention now.
It's about time.
Yeah.
The article says that last year, during the National Assembly audit, the bank's fraudulent loans were criticized.
Right.
And that's what led to the CEO being replaced.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Lee Si-Yeok Young was replaced with Kang Tae-young.
So there were consequences.
At the top level, yeah. Then the FSC, the Financial Services Commission, has a new regulatory framework that goes into effect December 2024.
What does it do?
This is going to hold senior executives personally accountable for internal control failures.
That's a big step.
It is.
So the regulators are getting serious.
They are.
Yeah.
And what about consumer groups?
So the Korea Finance Consumer Federation makes a good point.
Oh.
Preventing these accidents isn't just about the bank's money.
Right.
It's about the whole system. It affects customers and the entire financial system.
Yeah, that's true.
They say these incidents aren't just accidents. It's a failure of competence.
It's a much bigger problem than just a few bad apples.
Exactly.
So the question is, will the new CEO, Kang Tae-young, and the board actually fix this?
Will they reform the bank's governance?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
It is.
They have a lot of work to do.
They do.
So to sum it all up,
yeah,
this is a very concerning situation at NH농협은행 Bank.
It is.
They have all these structures in place,
right.
the committees, the ESG reports,
yeah.
but they're still having huge failures in internal controls.
Yeah, it's a mess.
And it's not just a few bad people.
No.
The losses are huge.
It's huge.
There's no accountability.
Right.
And they can't even get the money back.
It's a systemic failure.
Yeah.
And the gap between what they're saying and what they're doing
makes it even worse.
Makes it seem like they don't actually care.
So what does this mean for the financial system as a whole?
That's a good question.
If a big bank like this can't get it right,
yeah.
what does that mean for everyone else?
And for people's trust in banks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How can we make sure this doesn't happen again?
That's the big question.
It is.
We need to think about organizational culture.
Yeah.
Individual accountability and better regulations.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
You should check out the reports from the FSS.
Yes.
And see what the National Assembly is doing.
Keep an eye on the discussions about corporate governance.
Yeah. It's all connected.
It is.
If these formal structures aren't enough,
yeah.
what will it take to really fix this?
That's the question we need to answer.
That's a good takeaway.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time.
See you later.
Bye.